what's happening on the right side and when I'm going through my session. And if possible, please do keep your cameras off, so it can be slightly disturbing if there are cameras on at the same time. But hey, next hour or 50 minutes or so is going to be about Power Virtual Agents and how you can use them efficiently with Microsoft Teams. This is about extending bots in that sense using the cloud flows. So that's basically the Power Automate part, and how you can kind of get your employees started with everything else in here quite easily. So I think we just head in. Of course, thank you, Matt, for the session, because there were approvals and kind of flow parts that probably we will be sharing as many people today, because the approvals is the new thing and everybody wants to show that. I am not an exception to that. My name is Vesa Nopanen. Of course, you are free to call me Vesku. That's a common nickname for Vesa in Finland. Yeah, I'm a Finnish. It's cold, winter, snow, everything like that. But hey, it's February, so that's expected. I'm a principal consultant and a Microsoft MVP working for Sulava. And yeah, I'm a member of the Teams community, or I'm an active member there. I'm also the kind of meetup and the event organizer running the Teams Nation in a global sense. And in Team Finland, I'm running the Teams community Finland. And feel free to connect me at LinkedIn and follow me on Twitter, drop me a message, say hi. And of course, check out my blog, myteamsday.com. There's stuff about Teams, but there's also stuff about Power Virtual Agents and Power Automate, mostly some Power Apps and Power Platform as well. So if you want to learn what's new in Teams, usually that's where you can find that information. The agenda, I have a few slides here, nothing major. It's about a few words about these pieces of technology before I dive into demos. This is mostly a demo session. So on the Power Virtual Agents, it's a good reminder, it can save time. That's the kind of the thing why I love these agents, these little bots, because they can be now used with Teams license. They are part of the database for Teams. So yeah, there's some limitations. You can have up to maximum 500 environments there. So which means that up to max 500 teams that can have these bots. But these are really great with some planning. So you can kind of reuse the bots throughout the different teams. So you just create and organize them in a single team. But the point is they are available for your tenant users through Teams, and that's the big thing. And that kind of makes them more useful, because the licensing costs, everybody cares about those. You don't have to worry about that if you stick to the more or less basic stuff with PVAs. And the thing is, why they are, of course, also saving time, so why they are useful, is that they can be used through mobile device. And that's a big thing here, because not everybody is working from their laptop or a desktop computer, so they may need to have an access to the company assets through chat. Or the chat is very easy way. If they go to FAQ page or search for information throughout some portals, they might not be able to log in easily. They might require a VPN, or it might be a too complex page without redoing it. So perhaps the Power Virtual Agents can help there to kind of dig out the most important kind of topics or time savers for the end users as well. And why they save time is basically that they are saving time from some of the supporting organization units in your organization. For example, the HR, finance, IT. There are repeating questions. There's something like answers that everybody, well, it's in the FAQ, just go ahead and check it out. Basically, you're providing the same answer to the same question, or you have some kind of self-help scenarios that are required, and they always takes time from some real person. And the time that can be used for more kind of difficult topics, or kind of taking the service further. So even if you get only 10% of the questions out of those real persons and to the bots, that can help. That can really kind of save lots of hours from those departments, and they can focus on doing something that cannot be answered with bots. So this is the kind of a thing why I really love or like Power Virtual Agents, because they are bringing that capability for organizations really easily. And yeah, you can use that. I already mentioned that you can use the mobile chat, and you can have a kind of portal for these self-help scenarios in Teams. And when you start talking about, okay, what's the starting point? How do I get started? Try to figure out that if you have a process that's really repeating, easier to implement, but impacts a lot of people in your organization, that might be the one that you want to target first, because then you are starting to get feedback from there. And a bit more about the bots and Power Automate and Teams. Of course, there's lots of shared love there. Power Virtual Agents are extended with Cloud Flows. That's the key thing. We already saw in Matt's example in the previous session that you can use Flow to create a team, create a channel, and adding members to a team. That's out of the box. There are other actions as well related to teams, like getting the app mentions and stuff. But that's a kind of a great piece of actions. And when you go forward, thinking about the bots, okay, what the bots could do, they could create a meeting. You can do that within a Cloudflow. So you can start working with meetings. You can post messages to chat or channel. Hey, that's great. We are keeping people informed. We can write and retrieve information from various sources, like, well, SharePoint list, data first for Teams tables. Perhaps it's something else. Perhaps it's something external. And of course, we can do actions. We can kind of start the approvals. And overall, it's good to keep in mind that Power Automate is the integration backbone. If you go to premium features, then you will have to have a premium Power Virtual Agents as well. So try to stick to the basic ones, at least when you are getting started, and really use those paid ones only when you have a kind of a real return of investment value out of them. And approvals, this is last slides before going to demos. I will go through these rather quickly because Matt was already talking about approvals. But basically, the new approvals application was released last month, and that has proven to be an instant hit already. It's a version 1. It's not perfect. It has room for improvement, but it can kind of work as a hub for approvals in Microsoft Teams. You will see what you have to approve in the context of Office 365, wherever you are creating these approvals or approving them. Approval is sending the email as well. Okay, I'm reading more email. Well, I'm not, but let's say I would be reading the email. Okay, I'm getting this to approve. I approve it through the email. And yeah, it gets approved in the app as well. So it's a single approval that has just several places where you can act on that. And that's the key thing there. It's kind of if you are working more in Teams, you can see them there. You get the notification. I can act on that. Hey, that's even easier. And you can have kind of external triggers that create those approval requests. And that's the kind of thing, one of the keys why we are using in Teams. You can create the ad hoc approval request using the app. I'm not going to touch that one today. But of course, it's good to remind that this works basically on the default environment level. So don't go to the database with approvals or database for Teams level. It's a kind of a bit difficult. I'm getting a comment. Please move your mic. It vibers. I'm using the headset mic, unfortunately, because this has some kind of a noise suppression there. So that's why I have to use this. Hey, it's Sunday. I'm at home, and so hopefully, if it kind of has more issues, then please let me know, and I'll try to switch my mic real quick. But the cloud flows and using them with the Power Virtual Agents, there's one caveat. You can, as I said or mentioned there earlier, that you cannot use them at the database for Teams level. You can't fire them with these bots, but you can have kind of a trick way. I'm going to show a very simple way how you can take the approval out of the database for Teams context. And but things like what you can use this with. Well, the approval of the new team, that was the example Matt showed. You get a new file somewhere, it needs to be approved because before it's copied to the team, for example. But of course, thinking about the HR, IT things about expense or vacation approvals. That's a simple and very often used scenario. Okay, I guess I'm just going to go for the demo parts, and please do let me know if the mic is creating issues. It's not fun if that happens. It's not fun to the listeners. Okay, let's see. I have kind of just a Power Virtual Agent here, and we can start going through the session. Hey, I can bring in rich text there or rich information, like I can bring in pictures, I can have it and kind of a bolded text or italic text or whatever. So it looks nice. But I was also talking about the mobile phone. So let's see how my demo works, or has it already gone through this step? Yeah, I guess my ear more just had kind of ended. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it's starting to work. Excellent. I can hit the start, and I can have the Teams here visible on my phone. Let's put it to full screen so you can see it better. So I can say hi to the bot in my mobile phone, and that's a kind of a basic things. Let's assume we have computer problems. We need to use this for self-service because we have some issues. I have computer problems. That's of course always the kind of the issue when you're typing in. Okay, we can have these like yes, no questions. I would type it, or I can just press the button, and that kind of brings in kind of an easy self-help scenario. This is how we can start using. I can get instructions, guides, and then show around. Okay, does this help or not? I can go ahead and try new things and keep on working on my phone and kind of letting the bot know what's happening. There's something like a 60-minute session time. So it's not kind of do something for a day and then get back. You have to start the process all over again. But let's assume none of our self-help scenarios did help. So we just have to type in something like I get an blue screen. Of course, we load the autocorrect every hour. So we can kind of let them know about the issue. Because we don't have access to the computer, it's blue screen and it's not working. We just use the mobile phone to kind of bring in the information. And what it's showing us, okay, it can go to the, still try to help from some FAQ or knowledge base, get some information, but it's also saying that I was creating a ticket. So we can get started and go forward, and ticket has been created, IT will start helping, and we can kind of give the information about the experience if you like. And that's something we can do with mobile phone. All right, let's jump into the back to the Teams and then put away the mobile phone because yeah, it's a bit slow to go through these things. We can see the same conversation. It was just happening here on Teams. Yeah, it was a chat happening with the bot in Teams. And if we go to the IT team now, we should be seeing, okay, there's something new in the IT team, and we can see there's a new ticket. And if we go to check the tickets, we can say, okay, this is the one. I had a few other tests here, but this is just created by me because I'm just running one user here. and we can see I get the blue screen every hour. So you can go ahead and start getting tickets to the IT. Okay, that was how the user experiences. But this was promised to be a more kind of a depth level. So let's go for the canvas and see how the bot has been built. And this is hopefully what you were more looking after, is that, okay, what's happening here behind the scenes on the bot? Well, we have the trigger phases. We can, you already probably know that you can show messages. This is the cloud flows. We can activate any flows we have if we have that in here. We can ask questions and go forward, jump between topics. So what we are doing here is we start asking questions. Okay, is it the Surface device? In this case, yeah, it was the Surface. Which device? As you can see, I didn't really create anything on the demo flow for the other ones. It should be, those are working perfect. It's just a Surface Pro that kind of doesn't handle the load I'm used to put it to that, like 3 external screens, etc. But then you can start going through these kind of simple ways, questions and answers. This is a very, this is an easy way to create the self-help process, but it takes a bit of time, because when you can already see that when you start asking these questions, you're putting the messages there, it's going to be a long and more difficult tree to manage all the time. So if I'm zooming out, you can start seeing, okay, there's lots of things very jumping, going back and forth. It's not very clear or kind of easy to maintain. But if you have a kind of situation where you need to have a kind of a very rapid way to create a self-help scenario, this is something the IT can do by themselves, or somebody there. It's not very difficult to start asking questions and go forward depending on the yes and no answers. So it's very quick to deploy and kind of bring in the information where you just have to have a few steps. If this would be a 10-step process, I wouldn't want to do this. I would build a smarter flow that would have those questions and steps and then coming back. But in this one, we just go to the point where we are realizing, okay, this self-help doesn't help. We need a person there to figure this one out. So we are creating a ticket on the run. And then we are asking the information about more details about the problem, and then we can dive into the flow. And so you can see that you can put a flow or cloud flow into any of these places here inside this process, and we just see what's happening. We are getting the information from the Power Virtual Agent, from the bot. We could have more information. We should have more information, like answers to all questions if they have some relevance there, perhaps the model type, perhaps something else. And then we are just getting the requester profile. In this case, it's mine, of course, because I'm the one running that. And we are just putting some variables there, like what we want to use. Then we have a condition, and we could be using that like it's the information about it was running slow, so we might have something different we want to do based on these answers. Perhaps they are just collecting the information and want to generate an answer based on that. And we create a task. There's a planner action. We can use it to create a task. The only thing I don't really like about creating the planner task is that there's no way to put in the description if you are using the Cloud Flows actions. So that's the kind of bad thing, but hopefully it will evolve, and then we get that possibility later. Or you could just have a link to the place where you have more information about that. So that's not a big deal. And that's it. We have a link to the item. We have actually a link to the planner, and we can then post a message to Team Channel. And this is something funny you get if you are using the putting the links with dynamic values. So it's always messes the link or HTML, the URL request out. So the href is never in the same way when you are coming back to edit it. So you have to make sure that you fix that if you hit save. Then what else we do is that we use the Q&A database. I'm not going to open that one because it's revealing the IDs, but the thing is that it's sending that information to the Q&A database. So it's a kind of very free form text entry, whatever was the issue. Let's just hope if we find something that might be already helping the user. I have another demo where I do that before, and if it doesn't help, then go forward and perhaps you have a different knowledge base you might be using on that stage or kind of a last straw hope or something like that. But going through the answers, we just get the first one and we return that to virtual agent. So we have that kind of information flow, and we can move information to the flow from Power Virtual Agent. We can do actions on the Office 365. In this case, it was creation of the planner task, and then returning information back to the user when we are running that flow. And we just go, let's go to the end, and we can just then show the information. So that's a kind of very great way of one way of using that. But it's not everything. So I want to show you several demos. Feel free to ask questions if you have. Let's just say hi to the demo. Of course, what I would really love to see is that these would be proactive agents, so they would act first on some things. It would open up more possibilities with this. Now the user has to be the one going there and saying hi or triggering the question. But we can just start with I have a question to HR. And then we have a few options here. How much I have vacation? Can you book me a meeting? And perhaps requesting a leave. So let's take the simple ones first. How we are going to do this. Okay, we have 13 vacation days. This is just going to the SharePoint list to retrieve that information showing to the user. So where is the information about the vacation? That's the key thing. How do you access that? Or do you have a kind of some medium database there that you can use to fetch the answer? That's still within the power of this licensing, or do you have to pay for extra? So that's a big question there. Or if you want to book a meeting, okay, we are just getting back to the same question here because it's not in the question phase there. Perhaps we just need a meeting. And what it's doing is checking my calendar and booking me a meeting. I could join this Teams meeting right that way by clicking the meeting link. Or I can go ahead and check out the calendar, and we can see here's the meeting link. This was something that was created in the bot. And yeah, there was the vacation days as well. But there's the one more scenario I want to show before I dive into that. How the flow was created, or how did I create that process, is that I can get I need a day off. And this is of course the interesting one. I'm telling them now that, okay, I need a vacation day and I need to request a leave. Okay, when it would start in a week. And the power of Power Virtual Agents is understanding about this, that the other one was a duration field, and the other one was a date and time field. Basically, we are asking to fill in that information. And as you can see, it didn't go in that order, that I need a day off, that I would start, I need to request a leave asking for a day off, and then asking for when I would start that vacation time. And what's happening now in the behinds of this last one is that I'm getting the information and I'm writing that to the SharePoint list. And it's showing that the information there. I'm requesting, I didn't do any formatting for the day. I just enter that I need a day off. And we are getting that, okay, we are requesting exactly 1 day off. And when it would start in a week, 7 days from now. So all that information was already like kind of gathered that way without us having to explicitly say, okay, what's the date formatting? How do we do this? And this list has a flow connected there that it's now running. So when we put on the this is the approval flow, an item is created, we are getting the information, and we are creating the approval. And what's happening next? Okay, we can see there's the approval request. And requester, I'm asking for the day off, and the current saldo is something, and it would start at that day. Yes, we can approve it. And once it's approved, it's going to fire me another notification saying it's been approved. But also, I have a message saying that, okay, Flowbot is sending me a message that it has been processed, you have been approved, have a nice day. And the HR team is being kept up to date about this approval as well. Somebody was requesting the day off, somebody approved that, and that information is written there. And since it makes sense, I go through this flow. I created the approval. It went, the information went there, we got the approval out. And then we can update the information to this list so we can see outcome is approved. And approval is decided by me. And this is the details. And this is the GMT time when this was approved. So it was 2 hours ago. Where I'm living in GMT +2. All right, and then because it's approved, we are logging that information, we are posting that information to the channel, to the specific team, and we are posting that information to the bot, to the chat with the Flowbot. That's a very simple way to put this. You could, of course, would be doing more things there, of course. But this is something like, I find that using the more simple examples here is very easy way to get started. Of course, we could have the link to this item. Okay, so we would check out, okay, what are if there's more details in the list. So this is going for someone, and we are getting the item, and we could search. Perhaps we have a link modified. No, we have it in here when we are just scrolling. I should be just perhaps type in link to the item, and here's the link to the request. We can save that. And just in the matter of saving a bit of time, I'm just using the recent trigger to fire the approval process again. This is how I test this actually a lot. So I have the same item, and we are getting the information, and we are engaging the approval. And in this case, we have the link to the request. And if I click that open, it will open me the information. So this could be an external software. This could be something else. It can be this SharePoint list if you are using that one, or it could be a Power Apps. You can generate that link and use that. So it will be really easy to get to that request directly from the approvals application. And if your manager is using the mobile phone, they can see that information. Okay, we just rejected this time. So it's been rejected, and you get the message that have a nice day, the decision is final. So we can do that part as well. And I don't have any condition here what to do now, because I wanted to keep this demo as a very simple one. Or that could be a document. if you are putting that item link, it could be a link to a document. You can get that document out of SharePoint, the link to that, and etc. So you can see you can use the approval very, very efficiently. But when you're thinking about the bots, it is the only working practice, at least currently, is that you have to take the approval process out of the database for team scope and use it in the default environment or in the upgrade. But anyway, it's in the kind of standard environment, and that's the one way to do it. There's a the flow creates some slowness there, of course, but it's not that these approvals are usually up to 1 minute or something like that. Okay, I had other cases there in the HR support. We can go through them now. The rest, I took the last one first. It's always good to reverse these trilogies. Read them in wrong order, like starting with the number 3. But for example, how much I have vacation, that's a real simple one here that I use as an example, is that we just get the information out of the SharePoint list. So we have a vacation. This is for demos, and as you can see, I don't have any error handling here. I just create these for demos and proof of concept, so they are not there. But I can use this filter query. So we have the kind of the title. So we are searching for that specific person name, and can use that and get just the first one and get the value out of there, and we have the vacation days. And this is as smart as you want this to be. So you can create a smarter version if you like or want. But when you want to return something quickly, you don't want to make it too complicated. And if you are using external external process there, make sure that you have the right credentials running there, the connection part, for example. This is running now in that current user context, but you might want to use this to run in a very different connection reference there. Okay, then we had the other part, creation of the meeting, which is something I really like to do also, is the automated meeting booking and getting the information back to user. And that's created, again, we are getting the My Profile. And by the way, if you are using this Office 365 and thinking about the approval part, you could be getting the manager. If you have a hierarchy set, you can get the manager of that person when you are going to fire up the approval for something that requires that person's boss to approve something. Then we find meeting times. We have some couple of persons. Okay, where's the meeting duration? And we want to use the start time. Here we just have a couple of hours added there, and start finding out the suitable start time during the working week. And then we can kind of get the candidates, activity domains, work, and so that's why it went to tomorrow. And we can initialize the meeting link. And when we get the time suggestions, we only get one because we asked for one candidate. And we start creating a meeting link using the create a Teams meeting. We put the information there, what's the time zone, what's the start time, and putting all the information there. And we just use the join URL. If we look at the dynamic values here, when we create that meeting, we are getting a lot of information, like when it was created, what's the time zone, what's the information, do we want to put this to somewhere else, is there sensitive information, we have a web link, yeah, but then we have the join URL, what we are going to be using. So let's not use the web link. And we have the date times, and this is the confusing part. You have start and end date time. So that's something you need to figure out, because of course when you are returning that information. And that's a very easy way to create a meeting there. And then we just show the information, and we can use the meeting link because we are getting the meeting link as a markdown markdown coded meeting link, and we can put it to the text. All right, so we have gone through kind of self-help scenario for IT. We have gone through some HR scenarios like getting some information, retrieving the information to the user, creating a meeting, and then requesting for vacation, combining that with an approval process and keeping people up to date. And yes, there's more. We are not stopping yet. Something I want to show is the integration with external systems. Like you have something that's not in the Office 365. Yeah, you want to have something from outside. It might be something whatever the external system is, and if you have a connector or and you can use those actions without the premium licensing, or if there's enough return of investment for premium licensing, then you would be using those, and then there's no limit on those. But in this case, I have an example that's going with just the standard licensing. Yeah, it's a simple one. I didn't even make this one a very kind of complicated one. But this is what I'm doing here is that I'm just fetching information from external system, which is a WordPress. And we are getting the post information. There's, by the way, a trigger for new posts there. That's why I only have the IDs here listed. But these are hard-coded in this demo. But I can get the blog post excerpt, and then I get the content. That content is in a more rich format. And I have the post here. This is the demo post, and we can put some information like, okay, let's put there a power. Let's global automation bootcamp. So we just put some text there, and we use some editing, and we update it. So you can say it's running real time and not through something else. So we are getting get posts, and we are getting the post number 27 from there again. So we can fetch the information from external system, and no, the spaces aren't there. This is using the Markdown language, which is easily slightly different. But we are getting the information. We could do something about that information. So we are getting to the post, and we are seeing the post options. Yeah, we just ask for the ID, and then I hit the information. I could ask for the number and then use that one, but I chose this approach here. I have a few other posts there as demo as well, but let's go to the real beef. Is that when you are using the Power Automate, it's always scary when it loads longer. You can use that connector to fetch the information and see what's available there. Oh yeah, this is fun. Okay, it was just loading when I hit the close. That's when you are really kind of in ADHD mode. But we have getting the ID. This is a real simple, and we can then return the values, and we can choose what to return. And in here we can see that we could get the date, title, URL, content, express status, short URLs, whatever is available. So we are getting quite plenty of content with this WordPress connector. And if you think about your custom solutions, you could create a custom connector. That's one option. Okay, so we get the information and from the external system, and we could use to do something with that. I'm just now showing that information inside the chat, which is a simple and easy way. But of course, you would be then starting to reuse the information. Perhaps it's going to the knowledge base automatically. That might be interesting. You are following up my blog and putting everything to the knowledge base, for example. Okay, but there are other things like that you could do. Then a couple of last parts is that using the FAQ database. So we have, or actually multiple FAQ databases. So we have kind of very structural processes. We have something specific here. But when we are using knowledge bases, it's not kind of that strict Q&A, and you don't want to create all these kind of questions and answers paths to each of them. Instead, there's a fallback action in the Power Virtual Agent that allows you to catch up those questions or kind of texts here that are not catched by any topic inside Power Virtual Agents. So let's ask about, tell them that we succeed together. And I showed this example because this is coming from a very different place than Q&A. This is coming from a SharePoint list. I have this like we succeed together, and let's put Bootcamp text there, and let's put the markdown there as well, so we can see that something is happening. If I run it again, this is getting the information from SharePoint list. And no, looking for the keyword in SharePoint list, that's not fun and that's not very useful. But when it hits the keyword, it can get that information from that particular list. So you can have your own kind of knowledge bases with specific keywords, and if you just make it smart enough, you might get that information. But we could also use how to create a channel. This is very similar to that blue screen example. So we go ahead and send it to the Q&A database, and we have that information in the Q&A database, so we can get that information and show it to user and maintain that inside the Q&A. And the fallback is here, but how you define that is that you have to check out the gear icon in the bottom left of the Power Virtual Agent app, and you can go to System Field fallback, and then you add that topic. And this is the place where you do that. It's slightly hidden because half of the time I didn't even remember that that icon is there. But once you find it, it's easy to add, and then you can go ahead and put anything you would like to that fallback. And doing this editing there, this is the key to make it more smart. This is the thing, okay, we are getting some questions and these are not answered, or we are not finding the answers. This is what the people are asking. Yeah, we could be using the reporting for that, but perhaps you want to send a message to specific people already about them. Okay, so we are just going through the to search for the information. We have an unrecognized trigger phrase. And we just get that information and hit it to the Cloudflow. And that Cloudflow is getting that. Okay, we are getting that request. We are searching for that specific word. We are just making it easier so we can try to look for that word inside a SharePoint list first. So we might have an order of knowledge bases we want to go through and return that information. And check out if we find that information from there. We then check out if it's still sorry. Okay, we are not getting that. Then we are going to Q&A database. Again, I'm not opening that because of the IDs. But we are sending that question there, and it has much more smarter logic. It even understands Finnish. And yeah, there's a restraint with Power Virtual Agents that the good language understanding, it only works for some languages, but you can use it to kind of you can use the Q&A database, for example, Q&A Maker, to understand more languages than before, and they can retrieve the information. And then we just get the information back to the user. Yeah, I don't have any steps like, okay, whatever, if it's not found, should we notify somebody? Somebody should we find something else from there? But that's a very, very kind of a good way to use it. And if you look at the analytics, well, we have some summaries there. That's something not to miss, because you can if you ask for this CSAT scores, I haven't asked much. You can find which topics are working better and which are not. You can find information about the sessions and billing especially if you are on the paid license, but we are using the Teams version, so no, we don't have to use that. But what we might want to dig into more is kind of words that we are not that are not finding the answers, and that's why the fallback is also a good place to start collecting that information. Of course, we can do some other things there as well. We can use something like I have used the Markdown to make the bot look better. If you are not aware about, you can using the Markdown text, you can use pictures. Well, that was present already. You can use GIFs. You can do headers, lists, or kind of having sublists as well. You can do tables and show things around. Like I have just a couple of examples here. Hey, this is how you are doing bold. Of course, we could be putting a link. Let's go and find my blog there and put a link to the blog. And it's simple. Okay, let's not use that format. Let's just Shift Control V so we get the actual text. Remember to have this link with leading HTTPS, so otherwise it won't work. And we put here Vesko's blog, and it will generate me a link. And then if I click that, yeah, I can get the link open. This is a simple way to show to create this, but of course you are interested how that is done. That's the kind of point of this. In here, what's the app action of that generate answer? That's a Q&A maker generate answer. I can go to the flow here and you will see. I can search that up. Okay, let's go to topics. I have this other bot I use, and I have there this test Markdown. And diving into the test Markdown, I have just kind of questions here. Here's link, and I will generate that link. But how I do that is that when I get that link out, or I will get the GIF out, I get that Markdown away from flow. And if I want to show a picture or a GIF, that's the only thing that needs to be in the message. If I show bolded text or something like that, or link, I can have some other text here in the message box. But for GIFs and stuff, you have to use that one. So let's go and create a link, and I will answer that question there as well. But in the format is bracket, the kind of the alternative text or the display text of the link, and then the actual link in parentheses. And for the answers, you will the one I was using. Okay, let's find the Q&A there. There's is the generate answer for the Q&A maker. That was what I was using in the fallback scenario, and fetching the information from Q&A maker. So that's the one to use. And as for the GIFs, it's actually we just use the celebrate GIF there. Is that it's just kind of putting the link, but you have an exclamation mark in the beginning of that. So go ahead and check out the Markdown language and supports. I have one blog post about this in my blog as well. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, you can get a kind of a good head start what works and what doesn't. And that's focused only on these Power Virtual Agents in Teams using Flow. I know you can get more out of that if you use Power Virtual Agents and you use Bot Framework. Then you have much more richer capabilities you can use. But my this session is about or has been about how you are using Dataverse for Teams Power Virtual Agents and how do you can utilize these to make them smarter and kind of better in here. And one more thing I forgot to show you, just stretching my time a bit, is that if I go to the PowerBot and go to topics, and I go to the, let me just think, the HR request. Yeah, that was the one I kind of skipped when I was showing, is that when we are asking, I need to request a leave. And the first question would be usually to ask, okay, how long you would be on a leave. And this is what something we ignored when we said, I need a day off. And that just shows how smart these bots can be. Because if I go in here, I have a HR question, and I go through the flow like I need to request a leave. Okay, it's remembering my answer, so it would have to be kind of resetted. Let's see if the start over works, and if the start over now works. I have a HR question, and something like it does understand these typos. Let's see if it's still when you would start. Okay, so it's kind of ignoring my request because I already gave the answer for the duration. So that's something that has to be considered, that if you want to reuse those these answers, then you might be in a trouble. But in here, for example, I can just define this one as the bot related bot-wide the variable, or is it just inside this topic? So you can reuse this stuff much. Okay, I think I'm just going to wrap it up before I run really out of time. Some takeaways. Hopefully you learned a lot, and hopefully you find this kind of interesting and kind of learned something new, and kind of had ideas how you can get started using this. But you can use these bots with cloud flows, and then you can start saving time. You can automate things. You can automate some self-helps. You can automate typical questions and answers. You can automate requests that are done for HR or IT all the time. Perhaps you want to create the kind of, if you need a new equipment, you create that form using with the Power Virtual Agent. And so anybody can use the mobile phone and fill up those forms. Yeah, it might be also a forms form or Power App. That's possible as well. But for some people, using the text is much more fluent and something you want to use. Then it's the integration backbone. The Power Automate is there. It's the kind of thing where you get started. You write things to the list. You then fire up some other events or triggers based on that, so you can kind of have a loose coupling. Just keep in mind that the session is something like 60 minutes long, so it cannot run forever, and so you can't kind of make it waiting for eternity. So pay attention to the design of your bots, how you kind of can get back to the specific location. Perhaps you are writing that information to the SharePoint list or somewhere, so you can kind of get that information back to the user when they continue that. So you are running actually the process inside flows, and that Power the bot is just kind of taking care of the front. The approvals application, yeah, that's the approval hoop, and that's something really powerful, something that's really, really usable. There are flaws in there, like hopefully we can then fine tune it more in the future, and how we want to use that. But when you are doing those approvals from within Power Automate, then they are really, really, really rich. And of course, get started with bots in Microsoft Teams. And thank you, organizers. Thank you, audience. Thank you, everyone there. It's been a real pleasure to presenting to you, and it's been fun. And hopefully you enjoyed the demos, and hopefully you are enjoying the rest of the Automation Bootcamp. And you can find me speaking in a few occasions in the next during next 5 months. This is the confirmed ones that are public. So next week, if you are interested, join my Microsoft Teams Spotlight. It's not about Power Virtual Agents that much, but it's about Teams, what's new in Teams. There are great things. Well, approval is one of those topics I'm going to go through there. And of course, Microsoft Viva is there as well. So it's anything about Teams that's 1.5 hours. And that's has also a lot of demos. That's my trademark, I suppose. Then I will be presenting with Chris Horde on Italy and Paris for Global Power Platform Bootcamps on the February 19th, and it's about Teams as a platform. So we are going to show different scenarios, how you can use Power Apps, how you can use Power Automate and bots. Yeah, something similar like today, but in a much more fast-paced way, and it's the onboarding demo we are going to hit there as well. You can see me at Scottish Summit. And of course, when we get past the snowy Star Trek sessions, then we are heading to the springtime. And of course, do not miss the Teams Nation Community Conference. I'm one of the organizers there, and so it's going to be super cool. And you don't want to miss our monthly meetups either. This is about Teams, but hey, there's a Power Platform track in there. And yeah, there was some comments about here's videos about how to use PVA and Power Automate and action scenarios, enriching messages by Karsten, I suppose. So because he is the one who posted those links, do check them out in there. And that okay, I got praises there, mind blown, and I'm really happy. I kind of found the correct audience there. And you enjoyed the show. And if you still have any questions, you may have a minute or two for them, or you can hit me at LinkedIn or Twitter or even email or Teams message preferably, and ask me questions. So thank you.